Okay, students, last question of the day, question number 14. So the question is, describe what happens in these areas when antidiuretic hormone is released. And so it's got three areas we're going to talk about. Let's go back, though, first of all, and look at this posterior pituitary situation, because we've been talking a lot about the anterior pituitary, but the posterior is a bit different. We talked about how it is nervous tissue. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at the two hormones that it stores that are produced in the hypothalamus. So we have antidiuretic hormone. Another name for it is vasopressin. So you can see these two names used interchangeably, and we'll talk about why in a moment. The other hormone that the hypothalamus produces that is stored in the posterior pituitary is oxytocin, and we'll be talking about that probably tomorrow. Okay. So let's take a look at antidiuretic hormone. Um, Basically, what it does is we know that diuresis means urine production. And so when we say anti-diuresis, we know that we're talking about as like a reduction in the production of urine. And so the way it does this, you can see here on the screen that it inhibits urine production by promoting water reabsorption by the kidneys. So this hormone, one of its targets is the kidney, because it tells the kidney, hey, hold on to that water because we need to keep it in the blood for whatever reason. Okay. So basically, if we're holding on to water in the blood, that means that blood volume is going to increase, because if we're not urinating out water, we're keeping it in the blood, that means blood volume is going to increase. And that's letter A on the question. Now, we know from the circulatory system that if blood volume increases, remember, it's like having more water in a water balloon. That means that the pressure on the vessels, or blood pressure, is also going to increase. And that is actually letter C. Okay. Um, and the interesting thing about this is that not only does it cause water to be reabsorbed, but also it causes vasoconstriction. And we know that means a narrowing of the blood vessels. And so that's going to also lead to increased blood pressure. Okay. So when you have a patient come in who has extremely low blood pressure, and you're wanting to raise that blood pressure, then doctors will commonly give this little vial right here. You see vasopressin on it. So doctors will give vasopressin, also known as antidiuretic hormone, to patients who have an incredibly low blood pressure that need to have that blood pressure raised. Okay. The other thing that happens is that we're looking here at water, leaving the urine that is being produced, right here seen in this diagram. So what happens with the concentration of urine when we take out all the water, usually you get this really strong smelling, very yellow in color urine that gets excreted from the body in the form of urine. And so, when, for example, you're not drinking enough water, then your brain tells your body to secrete antidiuretic hormone, because you're not drinking enough water. We need to hang on to the water that we have. So when you go to the bathroom and you're a bit dehydrated, then your urine is going to be very concentrated, because the body knows how much water it needs to keep around for normal functions of all of your organs. Okay. So just to review, when we have antidiuretic hormone present, remember, antidiuretic means that I am not producing urine. So I'm holding on to water. So that means my blood volume, okay, less urine output means more water in the blood, which means a higher blood volume. That's going to lead to a higher pressure in my vessels, which means higher blood pressure. Okay. And if I have a urine concentration question, well, ask yourself, do I have more water in the urine or less water in the urine? If I have less water in the urine, that means I have a higher, what's called a solute concentration. That means there's going to be more salts in it, more urea, more of the different elements that are dissolved elements. Those are going to be in higher concentration and not as diluted by water. Okay? So I hope that helps, guys. Email me any questions that you have.